my son's big progress. Yeah, that was the one show.
Just away from the university, they speaking was pretty common.
Yeah.
Call this meeting, special meeting of the Smith County Emergency Services District 2 to order at 6 p.m. I do certify that there is a quorum of commissioners present. Commissioner Edwards is not here at the moment, but anyway, at this time, we'll stand to have prayer and pledge of allegiance to the United States and Texas flag. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this rain that you've sent our way, dear Lord. We just thank you for the many blessings you've given each of us. And dear Lord, we thank you for watching over us and keeping us safe, keeping our personnel safe, watching over their families while they're at home doing the jobs that need to be done. And now I ask that you be with us as we conduct this meeting, that we be conducted in peace and harmony, and that the decisions we make will be pleasing in your sight. These things we ask in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item 3 is recognition of guests and special presentations. I don't think we have any guests, so we'll move on to item 4, which is public comment. Any individual may sign, provide form requested permission to make comments to the board concerning matters that are relevant to the business of the district. The time limit of each person's comment shall be 3 minutes. Maximum time allowed for public comment section of the agenda will be 30 minutes. The board may not deliberate on items or matters not listed on the agenda. So we have anybody signed up for public comment?
There's two more. There's two more.
Okay. And then, is Miss Layton here? Okay. You're up, Miss Layton.
Who, me? Antoinette Cryer, is that what you want?
Oh,
This
Okay.
is Miss Layton.
Miss Layton.
no, Miss Layton is the one who needs to speak first, I'm sorry.
Right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, my husband and I moved here in 2014. We started building our house in 2015. 2015 we moved into it. We had a log home shell built. We finished the interior ourselves. We used all of our life savings to build it. It's a modest home. It's not anything spectacular. But when we moved here, we thought that because of our ages that our taxes were going to be frozen. But each year our taxes go up, and every time we talk to the appraisal district, they refer us to you, saying that this is the agency that keeps raising the taxes. So with everything else, the economy is very bad. We live only on our Social Security. We've pretty much used up our savings for various reasons because of the losses in our IRAs and that kind of stuff. So right now we're facing really economic difficulty, and I just keep seeing our taxes going up and up and up. I do appreciate the fire department, the rescue. I see, because we live on 1261, we see the fire trucks and ambulances going by all the time. So I know they do a wonderful job. It's something that's badly needed. But we also need to see if there's some kind of more reasonable alternative. I looked back at some of the budgets from the past. I'm not an accountant. I don't really understand all of how all of your expenses and your budgeting and everything works. But it looked to me like 2019 or so, or 2020, there was a huge budget increase. It looked like a doubling of the budget. And because now there's so many people moving here from out of town, from out of state, the real estate has gone sky high. So the amount of tax revenues that should be coming in should be adequate to be able to pay these expenses of supporting your emergency services district. And, I know they're doing more and more building, but for people on fixed incomes and low incomes, this taxation stuff has got to, come under control. I really don't understand it, and maybe if you can give me some more information as the evening goes on, maybe I can understand it better. But for us, it's going to be very difficult. We're between taxes, cost of medical insurance increasing every year, cost of auto insurance because we're older. Everything keeps going up, and we'll end up having to sell off our property that we built because we're not going to be able to keep up with it. So somebody has to start drawing the line somewhere. And like I said, I think we need the emergency services badly, but I just don't really understand the enormous increase that was done and hiring a bunch of more professional firefighters, I guess, instead of we had a large volunteer apparently before, so now we've got all that overhead on top of it to pay for salaries and benefits and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
I can see them on there.
Probably.
Okay. All right. Mr. Trish, your turn.
Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Pryor.
I appreciate your letting me come and talk to you today, and I want you to know that I really do appreciate all the things that you do. Many years ago, I taught the first class of emergency medical people in the valley when all this started. And so I was acquainted with some really fine guys who worked at the fire department down there. But that being said, I am also opposed to a tax increase. I think that this year, when the inflation has reached 9% and rental costs have increased 17.62% in our city, groceries and gas have increased, and we are asked to pay more and more on taxes. I realize that you probably need more money for the gas that it takes to run your vehicles, but even so, we also have to spend our money to pay for these things that are so needed. We have people who rent that goes up every year. The rent goes up because people are having to pay more taxes on the property that they have. So they have to increase the rent so that they can also pay their taxes. I want you to think about all the people in our city who are really having trouble paying their bills, getting groceries, buying things for their children. And one thing I wanted to tell you is that nobody can spend your money the way you want it to be spent. And I want to keep more of my money and spend it the way I want to. I'm really tired of the government taking more and more of my money and spending it on things like the sexual life of butterflies. I think that we could probably cut down on a lot of the things that the government is spending money on. It's time for frugality in our government. Use the tax money that you get already. And like Ms. Latham was saying, all the buildings that are going up You're getting tax money from all this new growth that we have in our county. And you can use that growth for what you need, but don't increase the taxes. I pay taxes for Tyler Independent School District, Tyler Junior College, the City of Tyler, and Smith County. And this is in addition to gas taxes, sales taxes, et cetera, et cetera. I get Social Security too. And I even pay taxes on the Social Security that I get. And I get the Social Security on money that I already paid taxes on. So I'm paying taxes on already taxed money. Now all this is not fair. So I want to spend, I'm asking you to consider all these things and use the tax rate that you operated on last year. And not this year when things are so hard on everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you.
Okay, Mr. LaCarty.
There's stuff in here, put it on. I'll hold it. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you. I appreciate the opportunity to give my comments. And one thing I want to say is that I'm not coming at this as an outsider, just as a taxpayer. I've had the gear on. I've been in the smokehouse. I pulled a charred body out of a burned up RV. I've been there. I've worked with that man over there, under that man over there for a while. It's been a number of years ago, but I'm not an outsider. I've been in the uniform too. So what I want to share tonight is that one of the most contentious things about our government, I think they kind of alluded to it a little bit, is that the government that we have, it especially the vast majority of the red-blooded Americans and Texans in Smith County, we don't like the pernicious growth of government. I mean, when government grows, it's like and not just locally, but in the national level too. It's like a cancer, and if you don't treat it with the chemotherapy of the citizen activism and citizen oversight, then it's gonna grow and it's gonna take over. It's gonna metastasize, and so the growth of the ESD, since I've been a part of all of this for, like I said, over a decade now. Only a few years ago, the budget for the entire ESD that was funded 100% by property taxes was about $5 million. That was the entire budget for the entire year. And then the previous chief, he wanted to expand the number of full-time and 24-hour staff and everything, and there's probably some good arguments could be made for that, right? And so the board that was in office, the elected board at that time, approved 18 new people, and he promptly sent out offers for 31. So rather than telling him to hit the road, hey, you went way above your pay grade here, that the board at that time rubber stamped it and went forward with it. Okay, fine. So then we had to pass a sales tax. That sales tax was an extra 1.5% for the county. And that was projected to bring in somewhere around, I think, $1 million is what Paul Perryman had talked with us about. And so that was supposed to bring in about $1 million a year, but obviously it ended up being much more lucrative than that, to the tune of, you guys would know the numbers better than me, $8 to $10 million in a year's time. And so the budget grew from there, right? Because it's always easy to spend other people's money, and so and we got new fire engines and new equipment and everything. And I gotta go really quick if you'll indulge me. Just a few. The budget grew, and last year the budget was almost $16 million, which is triple what it was just a few years ago. And so the sales tax was supposed to pay for the new staff, and again, it's really easy to spend other people's money, and so I know my time is pretty much up, and I just want to leave you with this. I'm encouraging you to stay with the no new tax rate. Nobody else is getting big increases in their family budget. Right now, in the current economic condition, the only thing that you could really do that would be the right thing is to take care of the taxpayers and not do not pass this. This is like a triple increase. You're increasing with the sales tax. You're increasing with the appraisal value, and you're wanting to increase the tax rate on that increased appraisal value. It's like double and triple dipping on people in the middle of the worst Biden economy. I'll just say that, right? And so this is not the right time to be raising taxes. The no new revenue rate is the only right way to go. And so I would encourage you to take that into consideration and vote for that rate next Monday. Thanks.
We'll move on to item number 5, which is a public hearing session on proposed tax rate. Public hearing notice of the proposed tax rate. Compliance with regulatory requirements, a public hearing will be held on the proposed tax rate of 0.072065 per $100 valuation. This constitutes such public hearing, and at this time the public may express their support or opposition to the proposed tax rate. Okay. So,
We did that under public comments, but it should have been under
yeah.
item 5.
But if anybody would like to make any further comment on it, the floor is now open for that. Okay. Hearing none. Eric, would you like to present information?
Don't have anything?
Oh, really have anything?
Okay. So, the proposed tax rate will be going from the no new revenue rate last year to, I think it's 5%, what it is, going back up to 0.072065 per $100 valuation.
I would like to clarify that over the last 2 years, this board and the preceding board has actually taken actions much in line with what you've requested. And I believe it was 2 years ago, this board actually lowered their tax rate with the expectation of receiving revenue from the sales tax. They actually had to go in and drop the rate that they were actually seeking from, all of our constituents. And so it was fully recognized that there was a new revenue stream that was going to be coming in. And then last year, we also elected to go with a no new revenue rate. So this board in the past has, and I want to say, made their sacrifices, but we are also in much the same situation. We've committed to the services that we have to provide to all of our constituents. And there's a cost associated with it, and I know y'all all understand this. I'm not sitting up here justifying one way or the other. I just want to make sure that y'all are aware that we have taken all your concerns and been discussed quite extensively between the board, and fully recognize that it is not it's not an easy decision that we have to make. But we also have to provide those services. I mean, we as the board members are legally bound to provide those services to them. So, and we have to do that. We have to give it to you.
I can speak to the lady that talks about her taxes being frozen. I'm in the same boat as you are about your taxes being frozen. My taxes went up $600 this year, but it wasn't due to the ESD. My ESD taxes went up about $10, but my school taxes went up $450. So they're the ones that are, like I told somebody once before, at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you pick up dial 911, is the guy that's getting 75% of your tax money going to come, or the guy that's getting 5% of your tax money going to come? It's going to be the guy that's getting 5%. So
I'm right in line with you as well, at all three of you. I'm curious why they're sending you to us when we've no new revenue and lowered the tax rate the last 2 years. They may be looking at us for a scapegoat, I'm not sure, but
Nobody sent me.
I know, Craig, I was mislating.
As a matter of fact,
She said that when
So
she
the
took.
appraisal office did say that you guys are the ones that keep raising the taxes.
I didn't know about this.
Actually, the appraisal district raises the
With that, I'd like to encourage all of you. We have several meetings a month apparently, but supposed to have one normal meeting a month. Would like to see y'all hear more.
Sure.
Our YouTube channel is up every time we have a meeting. View it, be educated. And I'm talking about with the school board, with the county, with us, myself included. I'm a taxpayer in 2 counties. I want to be educated in these, and I know Craig's very good at it. We see him quite a bit. But I wasn't trying to insult you in any way. But I would like for the citizens to come and hear what's going on and see how we're spending that money and make sure that we're doing it appropriately, because we answer to y'all. And so, and thank you for coming.
It would help if your agenda was posted maybe sooner. Because it was kind of hard to find out when your meeting was going to be, what it was going to be about.
Sure.
And how we would get on it, and then we were gone this weekend. Our kids gave us an anniversary trip for our anniversary. So I had to go on last night and just go online and try to make sure that I got on the agenda, because it wasn't posted before.
And that is feedback we need.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask a question about the budget for this entity. How much budget increase is there for this year?
The budget is not concluded yet, so I'm happy.
We haven't really finished the budget yet, so we don't have a firm number to give you.
So when will that budget be available to us so that we'll, if you're asking for an increase in taxes, is that because you're increasing the budget? Or is it just because, it seems to me that you would have a budget that tells me why you need an increase in taxes.
Right.
According to the law, we have to set a tax rate before we can set a budget.
The budget actually is going to be set on September the 12th.
Pardon?
September the
September
12th.
12th.
So next Monday would actually be the budget.
Okay.
So how much of a tax increase have you gotten from all of this enormous real estate boom that's been going on? Because, people in our church have said that some of them that were selling properties, and then we had some of them that were trying to buy properties, and people were coming in and offering from out of state, offering like 4 times as much money. So that's a tremendous tax increase for all of you. For all of the districts, the taxing districts. So how much, has anybody looked at how much increase there's been with the new building, plus all of the huge sales of property? I mean, people are paying 4 times as much. Somebody had like $250,000, they paid like $800,000 for their property. So that's a huge tax increase that would eventually be coming to you. So I'm just kind of wondering, does anybody know how much you're getting extra now?
And I understand what the basis of your question, and I'll try to explain it to you. So what property sells for is not necessarily what property is taxed at. So the Smith County Appraisal District sets the valuation of the property. We only set a rate against that valuation. So yes, we all know that the valuation of property has gone up this year. I don't recall the number, but I own property and I've got my notice it's gone up quite a bit. So I think we all recognize that, but we don't get it on what it sells for. We get what it is valued at. And so that valuation is not actually made, doesn't have to transfer over. What we're looking at this year, and I'm going to use a very, very round number just for help you understand is that what we're talking about is not only about $20 per household, per average household, is our tax rate increase this year. So we're not, when you're seeing your taxes go up $400 or $500 from the other tax entities, this entity itself is talking about $20 per household is what we're requesting.
But it takes a little slice of the bologna, you
Yes, ma'am,
know,
I-
and pretty soon
I-
the
I
bologna's
understand.
all gone.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. But I want y'all to understand that we're not asking for $400 or $500 from you. That's not what we're asking.
Every little slice helps.
Okay. Great, I know you have a question.
So the total tax levy on all properties, this last year was 5.2 million. It's going to be almost 6.5 million, an increase of 1.19 million, which is 22.56%. That's on the agenda for tonight, which, to speak to her point, it was really hard to find the agenda. I really had to dig through the website used to have the agenda in the minutes, like a tab on the very front page, and it's not there anymore. I don't know how when the website was changed, but anyway, that 22% increase, Senate Bill 2 in 2019 was passed with the automatic rollback election was at 3.5%. I know there are some exceptions, some carve-outs that were in that bill. I testified on the bill in Austin, but I don't know I didn't read all 5,000 pages of it or whatever it was. So can you enlighten those of us of what specific carve-outs are that allows a taxing entity to exceed that 3.5% cap without the rollback election?
Sure, I'll answer that question for you. The allowance is for what is known as the unused increment rate, which is in prior 3 years when this taxing unit did not raise the taxes all the way up to the voter approval rate, they stayed below. That little fraction that they stayed below gets put in a bank, and the taxing unit is allowed to use that in subsequent years. Okay. So the 3.5% that you mentioned is correct, but in addition, we can use this unused increment rate to go over and above the 3.5%.
But you would need like 7 years of 3.5% of no increase to hit the 22.5.
Yeah, the 3.5 is not in reference to that. It's in reference to the difference between the adopted rate in previous years compared to the voter approval rate in previous years. So that difference is called the unused increment. And in the past 2-3 years, this taxing unit has been well below the voter approval rate, earning the right and banking those amounts by which it's been below so they can use it this year.
20 and 21. And then
Correct.
If I can make a quick comment about accessing our agendas, on our website you can put in your email address like you could subscribe, and then every time we publish an agenda for anything, you'll get an email notifying you that there's an agenda been published, and you click on the link and you take you right to it. And I find it's very handy for exactly what you're looking for as far as staying updated, because obviously we're very interested in public input and conversation. So I encourage you to subscribe, and then you'll get a notice every time it goes up.
Where is that?
It's on our website.
If you'll get with me after the meeting, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a free thing. You just put in your email, and then you'll get a notice every time we publish. By law, we have to publish the agenda at least 72 hours in advance. I try to get it out a little bit before that if I can, but we're always making last-minute changes and additions. But it's supposed to come up, or will come up, 72 hours before the meeting.
Have any more comments on public hearing? Hearing none, and I'll declare the public hearing closed on the tax rate. And we'll just move on to 6, discuss and consider taking necessary action related to the payment of accounts, bill, invoices, payroll request for reimbursement, request for other payments, transfer of funds, and amendments. And under 6.1, we have one for Ben's truck repair, wild land gear for $128,000. Who's going to speak on that?
Okay.
Okay.
This is the wildland gear that we came to the board of commissioners about, I think, 2 meetings ago. All of it has been delivered and accounted for and inspected. We have everything on hand associated with that order, and we did receive it really timely. It's currently being labeled and put into the system for distribution to those members.
I'd like to say that I'm encouraged by the fact that what the original estimate was $215,000 or $231,000. So, I mean, going back in and really scrubbing through what we really needed made a big difference in that. We appreciate the effort that they made. I know also last meeting we talked about getting this into our personnel's
Hands.
into their hands.
Yes.
So everything that we can do to expedite this process and get them out, we need to try to get
Absolutely. Captain Trotty is working diligently, putting all that into inventory to be sure it's all trackable, so that we can try to keep a good tight grab on where that stuff is and who has it. And also I'd like to say that as a part of that negotiation, delivery time was really, most of the people that we talked to couldn't get us the stuff in a timely fashion. And these folks were great on price and delivery.
I'll make a further comment just for the benefit of those guests that we have here today that weren't necessarily here. So what the board was requested to do was actually provide a different type of gear to our firefighters with the, prior to the rains we had about 3 weeks ago. I mean, we were looking at a really bad fire season. And I think all y'all recognize that, the gear that you see a fireman in is big and bulky, and it's not well suited for fighting fires out in the forest. In fact, it will create conditions of heat exhaustion. But what we did was try to provide gear to our firemen that is more lightweight, better suited for the conditions that we're going into, and that's what this expenditure is something to keep our firefighters safe. So, with that, if anybody else doesn't have any comment, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the wildland gear, $128,000.
Have a motion by Commissioner Domney to pay for the wildland gear in the amount of $128,000. And do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay. Bill will be paid. Item 7, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on proposed transfer of $1,250,000 from the sales tax account to the general operating account. This transfer is necessary to maintain an adequate liquidity in the general operating account in view of upcoming operational cash demands.
I'll speak on this one, just going back and look at the balance that we have in our general operating account.
Okay.
Forecasting our expenditures through this fiscal year, we need to move about $1.25 million in there to make sure that we have money to pay our bills with.
Okay. Pay our bills and pay payroll.
Pay payroll and everything else.
Insurance and everything else. Okay. All right.
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Wilson that we transfer the $1,250,000 from the sales tax account to the general operating account. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner McKeithen. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. And the amount of money will be transferred from that account into general operations. All right. Item number 8, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the proposed payment of $510,554 to Vera Bank no later than September 26, 22. The proposed payment is annual debt service requirement on the note payable due to Vera Bank for the final maturity in year 2029. Okay, I think think it's the payment on our stations that were built.
Yes,
prior
sir.
to this board being here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
I'll make the motion that we pay Veribank $510,544. $54. $54.
Yeah, okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Dommy, we pay Vero Bank the payment of $510,554 no later than September 26th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McKeithen. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 9. Discuss, consider, and take any action on proposed purchase policy. I think it's all in your books where you can look at it. Trying to get all our ducks in a row so we'll have a good purchasing policy that everybody can follow.
I'll speak on this one, Larry, you fill in for me if I misstep or Mike, you're one of you, but, you know, in the absence of a purchasing policy within the district, and as part of our implementation of OpenGov, we needed to actually sit down and document the practices, the policy that we go through. This really just does set up the fact that you're going to have to go out for inquiry on certain types of equipment materials, and then there's a approval process that it goes through, and based on what the valuation of it is where the approval level that it has to go to. Of course, anything under $2,000 or above has to come to the board for approval. Anything below will be managed within the departments. Everything has to be within budget. Anything that is not in budget, that has to come before the board before it can actually be purchased. That's the brief version of the policy. I've read it. I know, Mike, you've read it. Larry was the author, so do y'all have any comments, questions?
It's essentially what we're doing today.
Right.
Just formalized.
Yeah, just formalize the process, right?
Mr. Coker, have you looked it over?
I've not seen that, but I can if you'd like me to.
Trying to look at it, make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary with it.
Did we, where did we source the template for this?
I had a template and I added in the majority of the approval workflow. So at what levels who can authorize certain purchases. So I don't think from a legal standpoint there'd be.
Yeah, I don't,
Really what it says is that we're going to follow the Texas Safety and Health and Safety Code Title 9, Subchapter B, 775, all the way down through. We're going to follow the.
I make a motion to approve policy 2135's draft as it's written.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner McKeithen to approve policy number 2135 on purchasing. The draft that was presented. Have a second? Have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Item 10. Discuss, consider, and take any action on the recommended repairs to Ridge Springs Engine 1 for an in-frame engine overhaul. Rush Truck Center has assessed the engine and states that it needs an in-frame overhaul. The quote to repair this is $26,411.20.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right.
It was middle of August or middle to late of August that we got that engine in. We had some issues with it. It needed to go get towed to Rush so they could further diagnose the issue. And I think on August 22nd, according to my emails, is I sent the proposal to Mike and JD about the repairs that needed to be done to this. It is, with the current condition of our engines, of course, I'm still waiting the 3 new engines and still being about 12 to 14 months out on those. It's kind of a necessity thing to try to get done. It is one of our frontline engines. It's technically supposed to be Red Springs Engine 2. It's the Spartan Custom Cab. last week I was tasked with trying to get a couple more quotes. I had reached out to a couple other vendors, but I had not gotten the word back yet on comparability. Lately, we've been doing quite a bit of business with Rush. We've developed a pretty good relationship with Rush, and they tend to get us in, get us out when we get a truck down there. And looking over the quote for this kind of pretty much falls in line with what we paid for Dixie's in-frame last year.
I'm having trouble seeing anything but Rush Truck Center.
I did not get two other.
He attempted to get.
I attempted to get two other, but I have not received any information back.
Okay, it just said, I'm sorry, it just said two other quotes attached for comparison.
That was the intent.
Okay.
They didn't arrive in time.
Sorry,
The holiday weekend.
I was busy, yeah, I'm looking, trying to find.
Yeah, with the holiday weekend, I hadn't heard back anything. So, like I stated, with the current situation of our fleet, still having to use this engine as a front line, still waiting on new ones. With our limited backup trucks and the age of those backup trucks, it's recommended that we do the in-frame, and then it'll be just like Dixie's engine. Once the new one comes in, it gets bumped out to the secondary station, and it'll be used as a good backup truck.
What's the timing for getting the frame?
They did have to move it out of the shop because it was sitting in the way. They had another in-frame to do. So if they've completed that other one and get it back in 2 to 3 weeks.
We know we're not gonna get anything else in here in 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, we've got to have apparatus.
The new ones that we ordered still will be 2024 before they get here, so yeah, we're going to pick something to be able to provide the service.
Mike, I mean, we usually have a reserve, but are we without a reserve now?
They are using the secondary engine from Red Springs. We still do have a reserve in White House. We have a couple other spare trucks scattered around the county.
Is there any value in seeking in waiting on those other quotes to potentially come in?
Don't particularly see. I think they're going to pretty much come in around the same value. Because most of these shops are charging normally the same labor rate, and it's just, I guess it's going to depend on who spends more money with Cummins, if they get a better price break on Cummins parts.
How close to the in-frame that we put in last year was this price?
I think, I want to say it was like 24, 25,000 of what we did for Dixie's last year. But this one is needing a turbo done as well, which did not get done on Dixie. So actually, if you subtract the price of the turbo, it's actually done a little cheaper than Dixie's was done at the time.
This is the one we put the turbo on, right?
Yes.
And then the engine.
The engine cratered it, and it decided it was going to pull some filter element to the new turbo. And
so is it going to need another turbo after the one we even put on?
yes, sir.
Trash the turbo.
I think it was May, June.
Did Rush do that? Dixie?
Yes, sir. I said they've taken care of us. We've had a couple, right after Dixie's got done, we had a couple little oil leaks spring up, and I talked to them, and they said bring the truck down. They brought it down right away, fixed the oil leaks, and didn't charge us anything for it. Kind of all part of the service.
So how many more years of service you figure to get out of this truck if we put a new in-frame?
We put a new in-frame. It is a busier house, so I mean it's all going to depend on when we get the new trucks in, and it does get put into a backup status. But I believe we can probably get another 3 or 4 years out of it.
The problem is our infrastructure doesn't allow us an option, is what it sounds like.
The quote that we approved last year for Dixie's was
$24,581.76.
With the term. So it's essentially the same pricing that we received last year, and you're waiting to get somebody else. You're burning time.
So the 26,411.20 for the turbo.
Yep.
Turn
Turn the key out the door.
That's weird that you're,
Yeah.
it's a little cheaper.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll make the motion that we would approve the expenditure of $26,411.20 for the Red Springs Engine 1 in-frame overhaul.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dommy to spend the $26,411.20 for the in-frame overhaul for Red Springs Engine 1. I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 11. Discuss, consider taking any action on the pending volunteer fire department retroactive stipends. Who wants to speak on that?
So I ran those reports and went ahead and included everybody that volunteered during the time that it was cut off. I did it by year based on the policy that was adopted by you guys, so it's basically by year. And the total for the entire time frame comes out to $344,443. So that will get us all caught up to basically the current quarter. And we'll make the next one at the end of this quarter we're currently.
And well within budget.
Well within budget, yes.
I make a motion to approve the retroactive VFD stipends for a total of 300, I lost it, I'm sorry.
344,443.
That's it.
Okay, now, motion by Commissioner Hicks to authorize the payment of stipends in the total of $344,443. Have a second? Second. Have a second by Commissioner Donald. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay. Guys, you'll be getting your money here pretty soon. Thank you for your patience. Item 12, discuss, consider taking any necessary approval of necessary repairs to Noonday Engine 1.
All right, gentlemen, another one I'm bringing to you is Noonday Engine 1 is at Siddons Martin. It has been there getting some warranty work done to the body. The body started cracking in places it shouldn't have. And of course, that body's covered by a 10-year warranty, so they were performing the needed repair. We had a few things that I had them cover or go ahead and repair while they had it. While going through the truck, they also found that the foam system, the foam pump, was excessively leaking, and the corrosion had gotten to a few of the check valves and stuff that are in that system. So their recommendation was to rebuild the pump and replace the check valves in that system. After talking with Logan, he didn't quite get an accurate price on the check valves. He shot a little high on it, so it definitely will not be over the price that is on that quote.
How old is this truck?
7 years old.
Noonday Engine 1 is already 7 years
It's
old.
15 long.
Disregard.
So what's the total amount?
Should be
74, 71, 46, is that right?
And then it was at 5,000.
So John told us here, and then
About this one here.
Yeah, it's gonna be the 7,400.
7,471.46. 7,000.
7,471.46.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we noticed the leak like before it became excessively bad, or what?
Without not diving into as far as pulling hose trays and stuff, no, you would not have really noticed the leak, except for they noticed the big buildup of foam from where the pump was.
But you said the majority of the damage due to corrosion?
To the foam pump, to the foam system, yes.
Okay, so do we look at that on annual inspection?
Not really, but I guess it's gonna kind of depend on the status of that foam tank. I mean, if moisture's getting into that foam, if we're exchanging brands of foam, then that's gonna cause an issue. I mean, there's really no way to.
The reason I'm asking is I'd like to look at the cost of preventative versus this. And so if you could do a bore scope on that pump, don't have to disassemble it. All you gotta do is just look inside of it, look inside your check valves. If we have access to be able to look inside of them, and and there's all types of inhibitors that are water soluble,
yes,
environmentally friendly. So if at the end of use, if we gotta fog it to prevent this.
And that might be part of the problem as well, is that the system, after the foam is being injected while they're using it, they're not completely flushing the system out like they should. So that could be a contributing factor as well.
Honestly, the life expectancy on those check valves associated with foam, because foam is very corrosive. It's not great. 7 years is pretty
So
awesome.
the foam is corrosive, that's my question.
It is.
Yeah, the foam is very corrosive.
It's not gonna matter what brand.
And a few years back, 2 years back, when I first came here, we had a hygienic issue on that particular truck. Someone put the wrong foam in it.
Yeah.
And if you mix two foams, it turns into a real mess. They had to literally scoop it out, like it congealed.
Jello.
Yeah.
And so that truck had that issue, and it may be, contributing to this. I don't know.
I mean, we'd like for all this stuff to last 20 years, of course, and I understand that. I mean, it's just part of utilization is that you do have it. But I really like. I mean, $7,000 versus what preventative type maintenance could we do to, incremental basis to help prolong the life of it? I mean, I know it's not going to make it last for 20 years, but maybe get 2 years out of it.
Okay.
So I'd like to look at that. I mean, we are where we are now. We got to put our truck back in service. So.
And they do have all the parts in stock, so as soon as this gets approved, let Logan know tonight, tomorrow, and they'll jump right on it. And hopefully, at the end of this week, beginning of next week, they should be completed.
I'll make a motion that we approve the repair of the pump at $7,471.46.
A motion by Commissioner Dominy to repair the pump for the Citizens Martin for the cost of $7,471.46. I have a second. I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Mike, get on the phone, tell them to get it fixed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Board.
Get it back.
Yeah.
Right now. Item 13, discuss, consider, and take any action on the final disposition of the Chapel Hill Volunteer Brush 3 truck. Charles, that's what you wanted on the agenda, so I'll let you speak on it.
Right, and we visited with Mike on that truck, and I think we voted not to put a motor in it, didn't want to pass bids. But, the expense he said of that and the age of the truck just wouldn't be worth doing because of future breakdowns and everything else. And Mike may have something that's contributed to that. We pretty well know it's not worth putting a motor in and put that on the road as a dangerous cause, something else breaking down. But I'm not sure why the chief wants to keep it, but it's not worth our time or all the expense we have on it or will have on it. So if the board has any questions, Mike, if you check, is that thing still insured?
Yeah, yes, and just to give the board a little bit more information, Chief Smith and I met with the Chapel Hill volunteer chief about this unit, and we clarified with him that it would not be considered part of our inventory of maintenance. No maintenance, we don't put fuel in it or oil or any form of maintenance on it. basically we're divorcing ourselves of that unit as far as our inventory is concerned. And we clarified with them, including insurance, anything to do with it. And he requested that it be towed over to a yard of someone he knows. And I discussed this with you, and that to further clarify that it is not to be used for responses.
Right.
That if
We discussed that with him about it could not be used in the ESD2 service area.
even if they were to repair it on their own cost,
Yes.
it is done.
We definitely want it moved off the property also.
I think it's already, did we have that towed over to this?
Not yet.
Okay, we were talking about
waiting for
moving
this
it off our
clarification.
property and over to someplace that he so chooses for disposition.
But he's got to understand too, if he does something else outside our version, that county tax dollars pay for that truck before the ESD is organized, so you'll have to deal with that line too.
Right, and I spoke with Chief Smith this afternoon about the insurance, and he's going to make sure that it gets pulled off our insurance as well. So we're basically done with it.
Thank you.
Just needed to, I guess, state that at this meeting.
I'll make that motion. That was first.
Does it need to be action on it?
We've already taken action.
Yeah.
We've already
I
taken
don't-
action.
I think
I think it's just a deal that, we just, as a board, just tell y'all to take it off the
And
insurance.
I'll make sure we follow up with the
Yeah,
chief to
follow up with the
convey
chief and
that,
let him know what's going on.
that it's not going to be used for responses
Right.
under any circumstance.
Right.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Item 14 will be a closed session. The board will convene a closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. No action shall be taken while the board is in closed session. Any final action, final decision, or final vote shall be taken after the board reconvenes in open session. 14.1, deliberation concerning appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment of duties, responsibilities of individual ESD officers, commissioners, and employees. Government Code 551.074, deliberation regarding real property, Government Code 551.072, and consult with attorney and receive legal advice concerning non-legal legal matter or settlement offer, Government Code 551.071, and we are in closed session at 6:58. Call the meeting back to order at 8:04 p.m. And we'll make the formal announcement that the tax
Rate will be adopted at the meeting next Monday. Not sure the date.
September 12th.
that tax rate will be adopted September the 12th at the next special call meeting. All right. Item number 15, ESD organizational chart, discuss, consider taking necessary action related to the proposed adoption of the ESD organizational chart under 15.1.
Any discussion?
Any discussion on it?
Okay, I know y'all can see this from the back of the room.
Yeah.
So, I'll make the motion that we adopt the Smith County ESD2 org chart as depicted and on this document. We'll submit this document for the records.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Donahue that we adopt the organizational chart with changes discussed, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And we are adjourned at 8:06.